Well, the president isn't finished selling his health care plan to the public, but the tougher sales job right now may be on Capitol Hill.
On Wednesday, he made it clear the time for debate is over.
The American people want to know if it's still possible for Washington to look out for their interests and their future. They are waiting for us to act. They are waiting for us to lead. And as long as I hold this office, I intend to provide that leadership. I do not know how this plays politically, but I know it's right. And so I ask Congress to finish its work, and I look forward to signing this reform into law. Thank you very much, everybody. Let's get it done.
Robert Gibbs is the White House press secretary, and he joins us now. And Robert, I got to ask straight up, the president said, and I'll just repeat the line because I thought it was striking, the American people want to know if it's still possible for Washington to look out for their interests. Well, Washington is run by the Democratic Party right now. Democratic House, Democratic Senate, Democratic president. If you can't get this health care done, it seems as almost the president is implying this, that if you can't get it done, then it's fair for the American people to question the leadership of the Democratic Party and its ability to run Washington. Is that fair?
Well, Chuck, we've all spent the last week because one United States senator decided to hold up the health insurance and the unemployment benefits for hundreds of thousands of Americans. So I don't think this is a one-party problem. I think this is an American problem. Are we capable of solving the problems that we have and that we know of in this country and have festered for years and years and years, whether it is our dependence on foreign oil, whether it's on health care, whether it's on laying a foundation to create jobs for the future so our economic growth isn't predicated on the easy availability of credit cards. I think there's a host of big problems. The president said this throughout the campaign. I heard him say it hundreds of times in places like Iowa, New Hampshire, and that was he did not want to wake up in 4 or 8 years, turn on the television, and realize we were dealing with and debating the very same things we were debating now. It's time for us to make some progress, move forward, and make this country more competitive.
Hey, Robert, for a president that really prides himself as a consensus builder, it seems to be his defining identity as far as he is concerned, does it kind of turn his stomach that he's now at a place where he has to really get health care through via this 51-person vote as opposed to the more traditional means of a supermajority in the Senate?
Well, no, Savannah, we got health care done not with 51 but with 60 votes. That's what passed the Senate back before Christmas.
So look, he has no qualms about having to use reconciliation.
Well, look, in most households, I bet in Chuck's household, I know in my household, 51% represents a majority viewpoint. I don't think that's a crazy concept here in America. I will say this, I think the president, throughout this virtually year-long process, we had our first health care meeting, public meeting in the White House a year ago tomorrow. I know he hopes that and wishes that more Republicans who had talked about health care as a problem and who had ideas very similar to his, like allowing small businesses to pool their purchasing power and gain access to cheaper health insurance rates, that ideas like that he adopted would attract more Republican support. But as I said earlier, there are many in the Republican Party that have simply decided they're going to say no to everything the president proposes and everything the president does. That makes running the country much more difficult.
I guess I want to go back to another way of this first question. Is it fair to say, though, that the final pitch to these wavering Democrats is, you know, your ability to get health care passed at this point is a referendum on the ability of the Democratic Party to be the governing party of the country?
Well, look, I don't doubt that that's part of what the president will say, but Chuck, the notion that Republicans don't bear some responsibility in running the country doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Well, I understand that, but they decided not to work with you on this issue.
No, they decided not to work with us on virtually every issue that has come to the fore.
But you have made the decision.
This country much more difficult. And
I understand that, but you made the decision.
He's the president, and he's got to lead this country. We will continue to talk to Republicans. We have added their ideas throughout this process. We added more ideas before the health care summit. Out of the health care summit, we added more ideas that they agreed with. They seem to not want to take yes for any sort of answer. We are going to work every day here in the White House over the next 2 or 3 weeks to get health care done.
Two things, Robert. Number one, would you concede that if the vote were held today, you don't have the Democratic votes in the House to pass health care? And number two, is Easter really the deadline? If this isn't done by Easter, are you just going to say, forget it, health care is dead and it cannot be revived?
Well, Savannah, we're going to work every day to make sure we have the votes. My sense is if the vote were today, we'd know we had the votes. Because if the vote were today, people would be telling you and others where they are. I think people are certainly going to evaluate the proposal. But let me say this. I tell you, one of the arguments that I know the president will make, Secretary Sebelius is meeting with health insurance companies today. We know what happens if we walk away and do nothing, right? Healthcare premiums will skyrocket. Anthem, the largest insurer in California, sent out letters raising insurance rates 39%. We understand that's the future, meaning tomorrow, for healthcare if we do nothing. So I think that is as much a pitch as anything that you'll hear from the president.
Okay, and on the timeline?
Forward.
On the timeline, real quick?
Look, I think this is going to get done in the next couple of weeks. The president's going to leave for Indonesia and Australia on much to Chuck's chagrin during the basketball tournament beginning on March 18th.
Look, if you guys struggle, if you guys want to struggle an extra couple of days on this, at least we could see the first few days of the NCAA tournament.
We're leaving on March 18th, and we believe that we're on schedule based on the conversations that have been had with the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader, that we're on schedule to get something done before we leave.
Okay, so it's really, that's 2 weeks.
Do you mean a bill
Easter.
signed by the president, or you mean the House passed?
Or at least get the House passing the Senate bill.
I think that the House passing the Senate bill is the first step in that.
Okay.
All
Robert
righty.
Gibbs from the briefing room this morning, thanks so much for your time.